listening through Oshkosh Media. We are pleased to have citizens participate in the local government in any way, so welcome to all. Would the city clerk please take the roll call?
Allison Osby.
Here.
Piansky.
Here.
Stepanik.
Here.
Peck.
Here.
Palmieri.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Present 7.
Now I ask everyone stand while Councilmember Allison Osby does the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we gather tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to the city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we govern. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin on the agenda, I would like to take a moment to thank Police Chief Dean Smith and Tracy Robertson of Fit Oshkosh for organizing the Unity Walk last Friday in support of bringing citizens and community leaders together. So thank you, Chief Smith and Tracy.
Turn your speaker off so you can hear back here.
You can't hear anything last time either.
Okay, is that better? Okay. Thank you, Jake. First on the agenda is a public hearing, which I will read 3 times, and there'll be no action taken on the item tonight. Resolution 16-345, approve final resolution for special assessments, concrete paving, asphalt paving, sidewalk and curb repair, sanitary sewer laterals, water main relay and installation, West 5th Avenue from South Eagle Street to Knapp Street. Second reading, Resolution 16-345, approve final resolution for special assessments, concrete paving, asphalt paving, sidewalk and curb repair, sanitary sewer laterals, water main relay and installation, West 5th Avenue from South Eagle Street to Knapp Street. Third and final reading for Resolution 16-345, approval of final resolution for special assessments, concrete paving, asphalt paving, sidewalk and curb repair, sanitary sewer laterals, water main relay and installation, West 5th Avenue from South Eagle Street to Knapp Street. We'll move to citizen statements to council.
Mayor, we need to vote on that.
We will be voting on it.
Only if the
No
asterisk.
formal action.
There's no
There's no
asterisk on this one, so this is a final action. Sometimes that's standard
sorry.
material. We were just talking about that, so there's no asterisk on it, so it's okay for council.
So the asterisk next to the note, all right. Is there any comment from the public on this? I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Will the city clerk please take the roll call?
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Piansky.
Aye.
Stepanik.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Palmieri.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Now we'll move on to citizen statements to council. Citizens are to address the council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes. Must address items that are not listed in the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact on the city of Oshkosh and the common council may address at a future meeting, and must not include endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council? Please step forward.
My name is Sharon Kerner. I live at 709 Merritt, and I just wanted to compliment the police on bicycles this year, because on the 4th of July, there were some real loud, sound like M80s going off near my house, and bicycle police were riding around, and I don't know if it was just a coincidence or what, but they went to these people and told them to stop doing that. So I thought, hey, that's kind of a neat idea if bicycle police are riding around after the fireworks is over, and anyone they see telling them to stop it, because I had great big pieces landing in my truck bed and on my house side and everything. And I didn't understand if there's some rule on drones either, because somewhere on Boyd Street, someone has one of those drones because it was up over the houses during the fireworks. So I was kind of wondering if there's a way we can find out if there's city regulations that have to be put in place or anything else. I'm just pointing it out because it was really pretty. It was red, white, and blue up there, but it hovered all during the whole thing, and kind of scared me a little at first, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I believe drones are covered by the FAA,
Okay.
Federal Aviation
It's the
Administration.
first one I've seen, so just so you're aware, some people do have them and are using them.
Are there any other citizens that have statements for the council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jeffrey Decker. I live on Otter Avenue, and I'm here to talk about the landlord inspections ordinance and to speak in support of it. But before getting into that,
You'll have to wait until that comes up on the agenda.
oh, well, okay then. Well, there is a time-honored tradition of public speaking, which I'm honored to follow, and it leads me to ask everyone here a question. Do you know what the pirate said on his 80th birthday? Aye, matey. All right. And I guess I will save the other comments for the appropriate time, but I would also like to echo the sentiments just expressed. It's good to see police out on bicycles. It's good to see them working foot patrols, and we can all be grateful, and we should be expressing our thanks regularly to the police of this city. Very professional, very dedicated, and we are grateful. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
Can I go to pending ordinance or not?
No, you have to wait until that is on the agenda. Yes.
My name is Janie Robeson, 815 CP Avenue, and I love the bikes because that's what I ride. And it came to my attention today that we are losing one of our very colorful businesses. Frugal Fashion has been asked to leave. They got 28 days to vacate, and now they're leaving our city. I ride a bike, so I see. The bars are bars. They're very sterile. They're bars. And that is colorful, colorful things. That is what brings people into Oshkosh. Destination downtown, you see a pretty window, oh, we should go in there. Now we have another bar, Destination downtown. What is that going to be? People come from Berlin, get drunk, and they're on the roads. I don't understand it. I don't think it's legal, and I'm devastated about it. I mean, it's a pretty area. It's a pretty place. The windows are always changing. I know when the Packers are going to play because she has Packard things, and all of my patients that have no money, they go there. They can buy things for $3. They can buy sheets for $7. They don't have a lot of money, and now that is leaving our town. And I think as council members, and I know I don't recognize any of you for riding bikes like I do all year long, by choice, it's going to be gone. And we are going to have another tavern. Is that what this town needs? Another tavern? That's all I have to say.
Is there anyone else that would like to step forward? I see no one coming forward, so we'll move to consent agenda items. And these items are those items of routine administrative nature that are voted on by the council in a single roll call vote. Staff recommends approval of all items. Any member of the public or common council may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. First is approval of bills presented by the Finance Director. Resolution 16-346, approve Stevens Park Neighborhood Plan. Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 16-347, approve agreement with Watco Companies for engineering services for transload facility in Southwest Industrial Park. Resolution 16-348, approve conditional use permit plan development for water tower 400 block of Marion Road. Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 16-349, approve conditional use permit and plan development amendment for an outdoor ceremony area located at 3125 South Washburn Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Resolution 16-350, approve professional service agreement with Tyler Technologies for property assessment reevaluation 2017, $127,500. Resolution 16-351, approve land sale corner of Fernald Court and Fernald Avenue, Northwest Industrial Park, $45,975.80. Resolution 16-352, approve revision to Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Manual. Resolution 16-353, approve $125,000 in Capital Catalyst matching funds from Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund. Resolution 16-354, approve Capital Catalyst Revolving Loan Fund Manual. And finally, Resolution 16-355, approve combination Class B license, special Class B licenses, operator licenses, and taxi cab driver licenses. That finalizes our consent agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak any items on the consent agenda? I see no one coming forward, so I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull 16-352 and 16-354 for separate consideration.
Is that a motion?
No, I'm just pulling those
Okay,
for
so you're pulling.
separate consideration. And with that, then I would look for approval of the consent agenda minus 16-352 and 16-354.
Second.
Second. Discussion?
I'd like to speak to 16-353 in particular. Approve $125,000 in Capital Catalyst matching funds from Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund. It's often said that the City of Oshkosh is not business friendly. The City of Oshkosh invested significant amounts of money. I believe, Mr. White or Mr. Davis, you can correct me on this, but I believe it was $2.7 million into a revolving loan fund. Is that correct? That was money that was taken out of a TIF district when it was closed to reinvest in our community. So I think this council has put significant amounts of money where their mouth is when it comes to business development, as well as our public-private partnership with Go EDC. We not only talk the talk, we walk the walk. Thank you.
Is there any other further?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like
Councilman?
Ms. Williams to come up and talk just a little bit about the Stevens Park plan, what's kind of in it. I mean, it's very good, but I want other neighborhood associations to hear a little bit about some of the things that the Stevens Park Neighborhood Association is putting together.
I just wanted to show on the screen here, for those that are at home, the boundaries of the Stevens Park Neighborhood Association. Washington Avenue on the north, Bowen Street on the west, on the south is the mouth of the Fox River, and on the east is Lake Winnebago. This is the third neighborhood plan that staff has worked on with resident leaders to kind of develop a vision and long-range plan for revitalization. This particular neighborhood has seen some signs of transition over the last few years as long-term residents move out. And so there's a pretty proactive group of residents that have been working to develop partnerships to continue to move their neighborhood in the right direction. So the plan kind of gives an overview of the history, existing conditions, and then it sets out some goals and objectives that the association, city staff, and other partners will work on over the next years to ensure that the neighborhood continues to flourish. It was developed over a year-long planning process. We met at their neighborhood meetings once a month, and residents walked alongside staff throughout the process to ensure that their goals and objectives were heard and the plan reflects their future vision for the neighborhood.
Okay, very good.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
ask a follow-up question. When we're talking about in the reference to the transition, in the staff report, it mentions the transition being that long-term residents are moving out and new homeowners are moving in. You know, we just had a discussion about diversity coordinator, and I guess are the residents concerned that that's a bad thing?
No.
Or
I think
are they
they're-
looking more at the inclusive?
Yep. I think their goals are to ensure that the neighborhood long-term continues to be a very family-friendly neighborhood. This particular area has 2 schools, one public and one private, elementary schools that feed in this area. So they're happy to see that the homeowners that are moving out are continuing, you know, to be there as new ones move in. It's a very family-friendly and oriented environment, and I think their vision statement and goals reflect their desire to continue that into the future.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just one follow-up. Is there any specific project that is kind of different than they've done? You know, they worked with us with the Stevens Park,
Yep.
you know, park itself.
Yep.
And then they did some other things, planting of the flowers on Bowen Street. Is there any one specific that they're focusing on in the next year or so?
I think the conversations, through our conversations, they wanted to kind of strengthen the relationship with the local elementary school. So this is Washington Elementary School within the boundaries. There are some concerns with safety, lighting at the school that they've been working pretty actively with the PTO to try to address some of those issues. And then also this particular neighborhood is on the 5-year CIP for a lot of street projects over the next few years. So you'll see in the survey results that street conditions were one of the top concerns. So hopefully through the reconstruction of many of those streets over the next 5 years, those priorities or those issues will be resolved.
Okay, very good. Thank you. It's a great plan.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
I'll just echo what Councilor Herman said. It's a very well-developed plan. They did, and you guys did a very well job on this. So thank you for all your time and being so involved as you are.
You're welcome.
Greatly appreciated.
Minus the 2.
Now, we will take a vote minus Resolution 16-352 and Resolution 16-354.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Stefanik.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Palmieri.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Carried 7.
All right. I would move for the approval of 16-352, and I will ask Ms. Lawrenson if it can be amended at this time, or do we have to get it on the floor to, all right, so then we would need a second. All right, so then I would look for a second.
Second.
All right, the reason why I pulled these two resolutions is that there is some minor language that needs to be reviewed and addressed by the City Corporation Council. The Long Range Finance Committee approved both of these resolutions unanimously, but like I said, there are just a few more I's to dot and a few T's to cross. So with that, I would move to amend Resolution 16-352 to approve revision to Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Manual, subject to the review and approval of the city attorney. Need a second, guys?
Oh, sorry, second.
Discussion?
What would be
Do you
the
want-
time frame on?
Days. We've had discussions. We're just finalizing the wording changes and didn't have time to get it done.
Okay.
This matter went before the Long Range Finance Committee on Wednesday of last week. We did the agendas on Thursday, so I reviewed things on Friday, got it back to them, but we just haven't, it was a very short time period to get that review and get the changes done.
Okay.
I expect to be done by the end of the week.
Okay. Will you just let us know that everything is A-okay at that point then? And
do that.
Yeah, it's really the issue, if I recall correctly, has to do with making sure that we're compliant with open records laws. That was just, we
And
just
there's a
wanted to
few
make
other
sure.
just minor wording things.
You know, and just before we vote, I'd like to thank Ms. Hoy and Mr. White for all that they've done related to this. And just to reiterate my comments of earlier about how Oshkosh is definitely business-friendly and that we are looking to expand our businesses in this community.
Would you please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
So then I would move for approval of Resolution 16-354.
Second.
I would move to amend 16-354 to approve Capital Catalyst Revolving Loan Fund Manual, subject to the review and approval of city attorney. Second.
Second.
Sorry, second.
Do I have to do everything?
I assume we need no discussion, so would you please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Next on the agenda are pending ordinances. The first is ordinance 16-356, amends section 19-4, paren D, closed paren, of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code related to domestic animals in parks. Advisory Parks Board recommends approval. And I would ask that Mr. Maurer come forward. I'm sure we'll have some questions. I will open this to any comments from the public.
Barb Marine, 523 East Irving Ave. I was up here last time speaking about this. Well, since my letter to the editor got in the paper, we took a ride to the park one day, and there was a lady down there with a 20-foot, like from here to the countertop away probably, maybe 20 feet, with a dog on it. He was heading that way. Another leash, 20 foot long, heading this way, pooping on the grass. And my husband says, "Oh, look." Yeah, so I looked. Too bad I didn't have my camera with me. She did not stop and pick it up. Did any of you read my letter to the editor about the dog permit thing going, you know, that you want to do?
Yes, I saw it.
I was out of town for 8 days on vacation. No,
It was
I did
just
not.
in yesterday.
No, I was getting caught up, so no.
Okay. I just hate to see this go in because there are many people that are not responsible yet. Dogs and bikes and this sort of thing do not mix, especially on holidays. Can you picture dogs on a long leash like that, or even a short leash, and bicycles and all a 4th of July crowd? It'd be outrageous. Animals are not prepared for that either, for crowds. Some animals just are not. I don't want to have to look out for everywhere I walk. It's bad enough with the goose stuff down there. You have to bring your bicycles home and hose them off. So I really hope you don't do this, because it's nothing but an accident waiting to happen. If that woman certainly could not control 2 dogs. And if you have a great big dog, you know, a Mastiff or something, nobody has control of a dog like that, no matter how long the leash is. You know, the park is no place for them to be. They should be at home in their own yard, go around their own block, pick it up, go to the dog park, whatever, or don't have a dog. They shouldn't be out amongst crowds, or they can make messes. Thank you.
Hi, Kim Biederman, 1624 Delaware Street. I was actually prepared to speak on the next issue, so you may hear from me again. I am a dog owner. It's my husband, me, and my dog, and we consider ourselves a family. We live right by South Park. Love it. We never go there anymore because we can't bring our dog. And it would be wonderful to have places where we could bring our dog, have him socialized. You go to other communities where dogs are much better socialized, they're much better behaved. 6-foot leash restriction is good. And then also citizen accountability, citizen reporting. So if you see people who aren't picking up, call the police, let them know that people aren't picking up after their pets. But most people, I'm sure you had that experience with that particular dog owner, but there's a lot of us out there who are responsible, who would love to take our pets more places and be able to enjoy parks and other surroundings like other people get to. So, thank you.
Is there, excuse me, is there anyone else that could speak to this?
My name's Sharon Kerner, 709 Merritt. I'm a pet owner. I have 3 dogs. I walk them individually because I feel I can control them better. I walk down by that area. I walk behind the filtration plant where there is no sidewalk provided by the city, but I walk on that side so I don't go on the side between the lake and that road because I figure that's part of the park. What I object to is irresponsible pet owners who have been down there for the last 7 or 8 years I've been walking, who run their dogs loose, throw toys, and throw things into the water, allow their dogs to go into the beach where kids are swimming. And one day there were 3 pit bulls and the leashes were attached, but the owners just stood there and watched the 3 pit bulls run around. So I'm sure they could say if someone came, oh, they pulled the leash away from me. But all it takes is one child to be ripped apart and you will all be sorry you passed this. So I am pleading with you. I think I'm a responsible pet owner. I don't even want my dogs going in the park, because that's a place for kids to play. I once had my child infected by dog poop in a park because he slid in the poop and he had a cut on his leg. So he got an infection. So I just thought it's been wonderful for these years, and I do not understand why we would want to change it. There are dog runs. If the lady likes the park, I'm sorry, but kids to me come a little bit more before the dog's entertainment. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak to this? If not, I'd ask Mr.
Okay, hi, Matt Mickelson, 906 Winnebago. I'm a dog owner of 2. I have 2 dogs. I rent to tenants with dogs. My tagline is dogs wanted, people okay. I am always looking for good tenants that are responsible with their dogs. I think it's a positive thing. Taking this to the park, I'm from Chicago. Dogs are all over allowed in the parks in Chicago that are responsibly taken care of. If a dog is off a leash, that's a problem. They do have dog parks down there where the dogs can run free. If a dog is being taken care of responsibly, such as on a leash in this issue, that makes a lot of sense to me. It would definitely open up some pleasure and be able to take my dogs elsewhere besides just Winnebago County Dog Park. The Winnebago County Dog Park has a very solid core of people that are very responsible, that have volunteered a lot of hours to help maintain that park by laying down gravel, by working on weeding, fixing fences. There are a lot of responsible people that have a lot of responsible dogs. Do dogs sometimes get into it as is their nature? Yes, but the owners of the dogs tend to be right on top of the issue. Very rarely do I have somebody there that I've experienced that I've been frustrated with. So I'm in favor of this.
I'd like Mr. Mauer to come forward and explain some of this program. I think there might be a few misunderstandings of what the intention is.
Mayor,
of the Parks Board.
We had to approve it first.
Okay.
Bring it forward.
Right. I'll bring it back.
Any more public comment?
Any more public comment? I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Thank you.
Mr. Mauer.
This is an item that has probably come up over the last 6 years since I've been here, probably one time every year, and the Parks Board has discussed this, I believe, twice since I've been here, and I have a couple long-term members on the Parks Board that have been there for 15 to 20 years, and it has come up probably 10 times over that period of time. I think over the last 5 to 10 years, more communities have become more pet-friendly. I think you're seeing that not only in our region, but across the state and across the country. It gives more opportunity for individuals that have dogs to get out into the parks, to exercise, to enjoy their parks. So the park board, when this did come up as discussion recently, they had some discussion. They did listen and talk about the potential conflict between bicycles and dogs with their owners. We did talk about the county trails that allow dogs on leash. A couple of our park board members are bikers. One spoke saying she uses the Wild Watch Trail frequently, has never had an issue with dogs, and a lot of the times the dog owner's respectful and stand actually to the side and let the bikers go through. There were a couple other concerns brought up, but for the most part, the Parks Board said it's time for us to give this a chance. They originally talked about doing it on a 2-year trial basis, and instead we said we constantly monitor this, and we talked about if it becomes an issue, and we'll continually monitor it, and I'm sure the council members were here, if it's good or bad over the next couple of months, we can always bring it back and change the ordinance again. So we did not put in there as a 2-year trial. We essentially said we're going to continue to monitor it. Back in 2010 and 11, when our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan was being developed, this was probably one of the most suggested topics that the citizens brought forward, and I would say it was about 50-50, kind of what you're hearing tonight. 50% are in favor of it, 50% are not. I think the council in the past have had citizen surveys done, pretty much the same. It's been 50-50. But the Parks Board, again, decided let's give it a chance, become pet-friendly like the other communities. I think the number of areas that we would restrict dogs on leash, as stated in the ordinance, essentially they're going to be allowed on trails only, and that by doing that, that limits the number of parks that they would actually be allowed in. It narrows it down to about a dozen parks out of our about 40 parks that we have. We do limit that they would not be allowed near playgrounds, athletic fields, shelters, park buildings, the zoo, golf course, cemetery, a number of areas, the beach. So we do have a lot of areas that are restricted, and essentially it's limited to the trails within the parks.
Ray, does that include special events as well?
Special events are listed in here as well. So somebody brought up Sawdust Days and a few other special events. We see them down there all the time, but this would specifically say if there's police and there's enforcement needed, that we could say your animal is not allowed here, correct?
And Ray, there's been discussion about 20-foot leashes.
We are restricting, by ordinance, we are restricting it to 6 feet or less for dogs to be on a leash, correct? Dog owners must pick up the waste of the dogs, remove it off site, dispose of it properly. We took a look at this ordinance with other communities that have done similar things, some nearby and others across the state. Talked to them, they've been in place since for at least 5 years. Been pretty successful just limiting these to the trails.
Would you clarify the domestic animals that this would include? Are we talking dogs, cats, rabbits, pigs?
Correct. You had probably the majority of the domestic animals, correct. If you go on and search on a website, it'll give you a list of typical domestic animals, and those are the ones that we would be allowing.
And those are all required to have city licenses, correct?
City licenses, rabies tags, just like if you're walking your dog in the city or you own any dog or a pet within the city, correct.
And how would the enforcement of the pet waste removal occur in a timely manner such that these events may occur rather quickly?
Well, we're relying on the citizens. As somebody stated, it's going to be complaint-based. We have talked to the police department. They do have bigger things to deal with. As we currently see, there are people with their dogs in the parks. It is being addressed. It's not high priority. We are going to ask citizens to make sure and contact the police department. We are also working on an educational piece that my staff will have out in the parks, essentially a business card, letting people know here's what's allowed. Our staff will not have the authority to ticket or cite the individual, but we can at least educate saying this is essentially a trial period. Here are the rules and regulations. If you're not going to follow by these, then it could come back to the council and be removed, or you could be cited. I think this first citation is $75, and then with court costs it goes up to about $230 for a citation. So we're also going to be working closely with our neighborhood groups. You brought up Stevens Park in their plan tonight. We'll be meeting with our neighborhood groups because a lot of those are focused around the parks, giving them the same information and asking them to keep an eye out on the parks as they typically do, and if they see issues, that they should contact the police as well.
One last follow-up question. Out of those that have supported this, has there by chance been any kind of group that's volunteered to, I guess, kind of self-patrol during this pilot period, to be up there, you know, to kind of take care of maybe the responsibilities that other pet owners have not taken care of? Has there been any group to step forward?
There is not.
In that
Again,
way.
That's why we're hoping to work with the neighborhood associations that have formed and other neighbors that keep an eye out on our neighborhood parks. We do have constant contact with them, whether they're in a neighborhood association or not. We do have some very good citizens that help us out on issues that are going on in the park system.
Thank you.
Just one question, Mr. Mauer. On the 6-foot leash, that's not a new ordinance. That's what the ordinance currently is throughout the city, whether you walk your dog on a sidewalk or wherever you take them out, correct?
That's correct. We kept it consistent so that dog owners weren't confused in one area.
You mentioned that your staff would have information and things. Could they also be a reporter if they see an excessive violation to the police department? Are you going to?
Yeah, we would do that with any situation. If it's an emergency in the park, our staff obviously are going to help that individual and contact the emergency personnel. But if it is an issue where we know somebody is constantly doing this, or the dog is off leash, or that's not being cleaned up properly, we can get that information and convey that to the police department as well.
And then if a citizen does come up to any of your park staff to file a complaint or report it, then your staff will contact the police department on their behalf, or will the citizen have to turn around and do that?
No, our staff can help on that, getting in contact with the police department as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Mauer.
That's fine.
Do you want to allow additional questions?
One question? What is it?
I was wondering about the liability. If someone's running, their dog's running loose, and they should come charging at you like they did off the ice at me and my dog. If I get bit, who's liable for that? Just the property owner? Or is the city liable for not saying, you know, like say it was in the park rather than ice? If the dog bites me, is the city liable? Is the taxpayer liable for that?
Ms. Lawrence?
The question had to do with liability. Since the person didn't come to the speaker, the question had to do with liability and if who is
By
liable.
state statute, the dog owner is liable.
Just the dog owner. Okay, thank you very much for letting me ask that.
There's no further discussion?
Well, I just, you know, I appreciate citizen involvement. It's rather interesting that a lot of times when we get a lot of citizen involvement, it's over issues such as dogs in the park or the length of grass in some place or whatever. And I did receive, as I'm sure the rest of us did, emails, phone calls on both sides of this. You know, the interesting thing is that we have to pass laws to basically make the irresponsible ones responsible. I myself am a responsible pet owner. I always carry bags with me when I walk my dogs. I find that shame is a wonderful thing to help people learn and to clean up after themselves. It's amazing if you see someone outside with their dog and you have an extra baggie and you go, you know, let's do this. It's amazing how that works. But this is like anything in life. The vast majority of us are indeed responsible. We understand that with rights comes responsibility. Now, I'm a biker, I'm a runner, I spend a significant amount of time out on the Oshkosh Trail, whether it be biking or running. I can only run by myself now in our parks on trails that I pay for through my taxes. I would love to be able to take my dogs down there and take them for a run there. They're on 6-foot leashes. And, you know, it's all a matter of being, like I said, being responsible. And I don't see anything different with this than we have on a city sidewalk or on the Oshkosh Trail. Most of the people that I run into. All of us that really understand this, it's like, and I'm sure Kim understands this, last night I was out on the trail, I saw some people walking with their dog. I was 50 yards behind them. I told them, bike on your left, coming up, to warn them, so I didn't scare their dog. I've seen dog owners, when they see a bike coming, they see it there, they pull the dog to the side. So I'm going to support this because I think that there are, the vast majority of the people that are going to use this are indeed responsible. And it's going to be up to them and all of us here to basically call the irresponsible ones to task and make sure that they take care of themselves. Again, with rights come responsibilities. We can't forget that.
You know, Ed, I live on a street that has a lot of dog walkers. I spend time in my den watching the dog walkers, and I can't remember a time I have not seen a dog on a leash or a dog not picked up after. The only time that happens is if there's a stray dog running around. So most of the, as Mr. Peck has said, most of the dog walkers are very responsible in this city. So with that, I will support it, and if there's any further comments, I'd ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stefanik?
Aye.
Pack?
Aye.
Palmieri?
No.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 6-1.
Now, Ordinance 16-357, designate bike lanes on Irving Avenue from Wisconsin Street to Hazel Street. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this issue?
Hi, Ben Rennert, live on 1113 East Irving Ave, right in the corner of Irving and Hazel, so I'm right at the corner of Irving and the main park entrance to Menominee Park. And I just wanted to kind of express to you how often I see cyclists coming down Irving Ave from roads that are right off of Irving, kind of filtering into it and heading towards the park. And I feel bike lanes on Irving Ave will keep cyclists safer, keep motorists safer, and add to what our city can offer its residents. So I'm in high favor of this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward on this issue?
Hi, Jim Michelson, 1515 North Point Street. I'm also chairman of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for Oshkosh. The bike lanes in Irving are very important because they're part of a major link of our east-west routes. Also, it's a major link between the university and Menominee Park, and also because the university is so close to the Wyowash, you know, you're only a few blocks away. It's also a link to the Wyowash going to Menominee Park. So that's why I think it's very important. Also, bikers, I do a lot of biking. Bikers feel a lot safer when they're in a bike lane. And with a route like this where there's a lot of bike traffic, the bikers will feel more safer on the lane. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this issue? I see no one coming forward. I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor. Go ahead. I just want to say I support bike lanes. Again, the research shows they are safer for bicyclists. The Irving Avenue bike lanes are going to be a major connection from the university to the park. And I think it's important, one, that it connects to the Wyowash Trail, but we're getting students to see a different aspect of the city. Hopefully one they connect with and makes them want to stay here, make them appreciate where they're living and the community they have. So I'm going to support this, and I supported it in Traffic Advisory, and I'm going to support it now.
Councilman Herman?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple comments. I was not in favor of this in the beginning. I thought it was too much traffic. It puts bicyclists near commercial districts, things like that. They talk about the Wyowash Trail. Actually, New York Avenue, which is an alternative route, which now is Cheryl's, actually connects to the Wyowash Trail down to Menominee Park. But I understand from talking to Mr. Collins that we don't have widen up width on New York Avenue to make a bike route, so that's why the Sherrills are there. So that changed my mind. The only advice I give to bikers, please get off your bike and walk over the railroad tracks at Irving, or you will have definite damage to your bike, for sure, or you'll be falling down, because that is the very worst crossing in the city, and we can't get it fixed. So please get off your bike if you don't want damage to your very expensive mountain bike. But I will support it.
Thank you. I struggled with this as well. I was not supportive of it in the beginning, not because I don't enjoy bicycling. It's not because I don't think bike lanes are important. But I was concerned because of the number of commercial traffic, bars, things of that nature, high traffic area. Initially, I would have liked to have seen a different route that maybe there wasn't so much car traffic on in regards to the safety of the bicyclists. But then, after I've considered it, it's kind of one of those things, if we don't put the bike lanes in, it isn't going to prevent people from still biking on Irving and making that connection. So in the best interest of public safety, knowing people will do it anyways, is the reason why I will support it.
Okay. I just have one other, anybody else have anything? I'd just like to kind of follow up on something Mr. Cummings mentioned about bike safety, and just point out a couple of things. Number one, go out and buy a lid. Make sure you bike with a helmet on. Number two, if you're biking on a city street, get the buds out of your ears. You can put the buds in when you're out on the trail or whatever, but, you know, if you've got the buds in your ears, you're not aware of your surroundings, and that's an accident waiting to happen. Now, again, being responsible.
If there are no further comments from council, I will ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Now we go to ordinance 16-358, designate West Fifth Avenue as a one-way street for westbound traffic from 220 feet west of Nebraska Street to Nebraska Street. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this pending ordinance? I see no one coming forward. I would like to bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one comment. Some citizens may not be aware what why we're designating West Fifth Avenue as a one-way street. It's really about a restaurant that's been closed for quite some time. The Granary is under new ownership, and there will be some work being done there, and a business will be going in there. And the business has requested this so that they can have angle parking, which will give them more parking into that area. And it should also help a little bit with the dockside property and things in that area too. So it's an opportunity for, as Mr. Peck has said earlier, that we don't cater to business in Oshkosh, but here's another opportunity where we're making a street change to help a business improve their potential possibility of having a successful business in the downtown riverfront area of Oshkosh. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments or discussion? If there are none, I would ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 16-359, approved zone change downtown Oshkosh YMCA from C3 Central Commercial District, R2 PD, two-family residence district with planned development overlay, R-5 multiple dwelling district, and R-5 PD multiple dwelling district with planned development overlay to C-3 PD Central Commercial District with planned development overlay, 324 Washington Avenue. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this pending ordinance? I see no one coming forward. I bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Would the city clerk please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, the next ordinance, which is 16-360, has been pulled from the agenda. So we'll move to ordinance 16-361, approved trading Division 6 residential rental contact registration and inspection program of Chapter 16 Housing Code.
Mr. Mayor, if we may, before we go to public comment, I'd like to direct a question to Ms. Ubrig and Ms. Lawrenson. Staff has written a memo suggesting that this be laid over for 1 month to gain some additional information. Can we move to lay this over at this point for 1 month?
You can, I mean, if you have, it's really up, if you're meeting, it's up to the council. If you want to allow, I think there are some people here who want to talk to it. If you'd like to allow them to speak now or to come back when it's
I mean, I appreciate the public comment, but I think the comment that we had, and I don't want to stifle that in any means, but that basically the gist of the comments we heard previously was take this back, let's work together, let's come up with something and do that. I would look for other council direction.
If there are members here that would like to speak on this, I think we should give them the chance to speak on that.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And again, it was not to stifle anything, but it's, I think we know where this is all going, and to respect everyone's time as well as their opinions, it was a question. Thank you.
So I would now open this up to any public comment. So please step forward. And if there are a number of people that would like to speak, kind of start lining up behind John so we can keep this moving.
John Shell, 520 CB. One thing, I was looking at the cost of this, it works out to about $2.10 a month, which means my rent will probably go up $5, which I can live with, and my landlord gets to pocket a couple bucks every month. I'm good. I think it's a good idea. Most of the landlords in this city are really good. This just kind of puts the reins on a couple of bad apples. I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kathleen Propp, 1936 Hazel Street, and I beg the council's indulgence. I did submit written testimony at the last meeting, but it was never reported that there were more than, actually it was reported that one person spoke in favor of the ordinance at that meeting, so I'm back to lend my voice to this. And I'm terribly sorry that so many landlords and people seem to be against this ordinance. I urge the City Council to vote in favor of this program. My sister and I recently owned some rental properties in Boulder, Colorado, 3 of which were student rentals near the university campus. We employed a property manager to rent and maintain the houses. All the properties were subject to the City of Boulder rental ordinance and 5-year inspection program similar to this proposed ordinance. The purpose was not to harass landlords, but to ensure that the property was safe for habitation. Our houses were older and admittedly shabby, but everything worked. That's the purpose of this ordinance. Everything needs to be in working order. Plumbing, appliances, doors, windows, furnaces, electric and gas service, smoke detectors, etc. Upon inspection, the inspector found only 1 or 2 minor things to fix when they were inspected, if any. And it was certainly not onerous. Renters deserve to know that the apartment or house they occupy is safe and meets basic city codes. Shabby and old is okay. Unfortunately, too many of our Oshkosh rental properties are in disrepair. Too many low-income and student renters sign a contract and move in without realizing that the property has serious maintenance and safety issues. It's also vitally important for the public, neighbors, renters, and other landlords to know how many persons are occupying a rental unit. I believe that responsible landlords should welcome this program as a way to improve neighborhoods. Believe me, rental registration and inspection is not a burden to landlords or to tenants. The fee averaged over a 5-year period, as I think the last speaker said, is minimal, approximately $2 per month. So I hope that in another month, when you consider this, that you do pass the ordinance.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this?
Hello, my name is Ann Marshall, and I am co-president of the League of Women Voters of Winnebago County. I'm here to speak on behalf of the League in support of the proposed residential rental contract registration and inspection program, as well as creating the creation of a rental housing authority board, advisory board. The League of Women Voters has a long-standing position that every person and family should have a decent, safe, and affordable place to live. The League also supports housing policies that will stabilize older neighborhoods. Section 704 of the Wisconsin statutes has been in effect for some time and requires residential landlords to meet certain expectations, such as keep premises in a reasonable state of repair, keep all equipment that the landlord has agreed to provide, such as heat, water, air conditioning, and so forth, to be in a reasonable state of repair. Except for residential premises subject to local housing codes, a landlord must repair or replace any plumbing, electrical wiring, equipment that are no longer in good working condition. These are examples of already existing requirements of residential landlords. In March of this year, Act 176, passed by the state legislature, was signed into law, and it has several parts, one of which is what is allowing local governments to inspect residential rental property if the inspection is part of a regularly scheduled inspection conducted in compliance with state and federal laws, which I think is what you're doing here. Inspection should apply to all residential rental property owners, not just to a segment of the population. And that, too, I think, is what Oshkosh is planning to do. Inspections of rental units are proposed to take place every 5 years for a very reasonable fee. The goal of the inspection program is to help ensure that rental housing is adequately maintained and safe for all tenants. It is anticipated that, in time, when those inspections are going on, along with the other community initiatives that we already have, that will also improve our older Oshkosh neighborhoods. So we really hope that this does, after the tweaking you need to do, does pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? I see no one, so I'll bring it back to the...
Someone's coming forward. Two people are coming forward.
I'm Bernie Pitts, live at 617 West Irving. I own the properties on the corner of Wisconsin and Church Street. They've been in our family for over 100 years, and we've never had any complaints that I know of in those apartments. Now you want me to pay the city of Oshkosh a fee because you have some irresponsible landlords. I just heard Tom Peck talk about being responsible as far as the dog would he go. I think if you got irresponsible tenants or irresponsible landlords, go after them. Why should you go after all of us? Why should I have to pay almost $2,500 so that the city can go out and hire more inspectors? Now, if you're going to go out and hire more inspectors to just inspect these particular properties, then I think you owe a moral obligation to take the portion that's being billed to the taxpayers for the rest of the rest of the properties that are not under this program, such as the single-family homes. You also, if you're going to pass this law, you should take into consideration those that are renting for EAA. You should also take into consideration, but you're not going to, the dormitories, which, by way, the city fire department goes there and inspects. I'd like to know where you get that fund from. Then the city housing, which has over 100 individual houses and duplexes in the city of Oshkosh, and they're not included in this. You're picking and choosing what you're doing, and that is totally wrong. And I think what you have to do is either take another look at this. If you've got bad property owners, go after the bad property owners and leave the rest of us out of it. I tell you, this just burns my cork. When we got in the city of Oshkosh ordinances that are not being enforced, in fact, I'll tell you one that's been for 3 years. The state of Wisconsin, across my apartments in Wisconsin, have had garbage containers right next to the sidewalk. I, for 3 years, have been going to the zoning and planning office, and on December 23rd, I went to the city attorney and talked about it. And you know something? They're still there. Nothing happens as far as the college is concerned, and I think it's about time you pass to promote the laws that are on the books. You don't have to create any more. And I think when you're looking for inspectors, what you better stop and think that some of these properties, when they're over 4 units, don't come under just a plain inspector. They come under an architect, almost an architectural person that has a license as an architect to inspect them. I think that's something you better look into before you go passing ordinances such as this. I thank you.
I'm Mary Gabriel, 233 West 9th Avenue. I am a landlord. We have one property that is a duplex. We purchased it when my kids were very small, so it allowed me to stay home. We've never had any complaints on it. Everything has been good. We are responsible landlords. We take care of the property as soon as anything is broken or damaged. We're always there to take care of it. I feel that this is an unnecessary law to be passed. There already is plenty of laws that are making sure that all of these things are staying up to code. If at any time a tenant feels that their apartment or dwelling isn't up to those codes, they can always call the city, and the city inspects at any point in time then as needed. So I think that making another law kind of is, doesn't make a whole lot of sense when these things already exist. Also, like many people said, I don't think that we go out and make that everybody have to follow this because we're looking at a few bad landlords. I think if you are picking out those people, then those tenants should be calling, or the city can look into those specifically. But to pass a law that says everybody falls under this because of a few bad apples, I think is silly. Thanks.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward and speak to this pending ordinance? I see no one coming forward, so I'll bring it back to council for, we have to do a motion in a second.
It's a pen.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make a motion. Or council discussion, we
discuss.
Can we
move it in a second?
We have to motion.
Okay, and then we can, all right.
Okay.
I need a motion.
I would move for the approval of 16-361.
Second.
All right, and then,
Second, yes.
all right.
Discussion.
Couple of things. The cities at one time did have the ability to go after the bad ones. Act 176, at the behest of the legislature, basically changed the rules. And as the woman from the League of Women Voters said, the rules are now, it has to be everybody that is a rental property. So it was the state legislature that changed the rules. We had the ability to go after the bad ones, and we were working on that, and that's how this proposal originally started. Other communities did the same thing, but lobbyists, associations, and everything got a hold of the legislature. Act 176 passed, which Act 176 Mr. Pitts, as it said, has to be everybody. It can't just be a few of them. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that. And so just so, you know, we had local control, but then we lost local control. And that's why the plan is designed the way it is now, to comply with the law.
And to follow up with what Mr. Peck said, you know, we were dealt, we're using the hand we were dealt. And the legislature took away local control from every city in the state. And so everyone knows, inspections are not our goal. They are a means to an end, and that end is to ensure that the citizens of Oshkosh and their families have clean and safe rental housing.
Oh, and then
So just keep in mind, you know, we're not in the inspection business per se, but it's the means to the end to ensure families in this community have clean and safe housing.
And as far as public housing and the university goes, and nursing homes and those types of facilities that have what we could call, quote, rental, unquote, properties, they fall under a different inspection program. And they are still inspected. Dorms are inspected, hotels are inspected. The public housing owned by, well, the city does not own it, it is actually the Oshkosh Housing Authority. That falls under a different inspection criteria, and those properties are indeed inspected. So that is why those particular properties are not included as part of this. So everyone understands the fairness.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Davis, in your memo and stuff to council, you gave us some criteria of why you would like it held over till the first meeting in August. Could you just kind of go over those things that you're working through, your staff is working through, that are some of the concerns and questions that got brought up?
Yes, certainly. We've certainly been working on this for many, many months, but there's still questions that remain regarding how the actual program would operate in the city. Since we've never done this before, we're having to create that. We're basing this on models from around the state that we've identified and even around the country. But there are things that we haven't prepared yet for this program, and I think staff is in a position where we could do that research and actually prepare, say, the checklist for what would be the inspectors would be looking for, some education pieces that I think are necessary, what kind of cycle we'd use around the city for the 5 years, which neighborhoods we'd start in, which neighborhoods we'd progress to, things of that nature. And we've been approached by landlords or property owners that report that they'd like to figure out a way to make this still achieve the goals, but make it as efficient and economical as possible. And we're open to those ideas. Since we haven't done that yet, we want to explore every possibility before we recommend something to council.
Okay. There's some stuff in there about, I know some of the apartment complexes have inspections already, and there's been some discussion. Can we, with their certification or whatever, use that as our certification? There's some of that discussion going on.
We want to explore that. We don't know all the different types of inspections that are done and what credentials people have for those types of inspections, but we have really not gone to the details to find out if that would work or not, and this would give us some time to look into those details and report back to council.
Okay. And then there's some discussion I see about a rebate program. You want to just
Yes,
talk a little bit about that?
That's a trickier one in that, again, the legislature said it needs to be uniform, so it's difficult to come up with a uniform system if some people can qualify for rebates or some people can't. I'm not sure we can do that. Certainly other communities have offered that in the past, but again, I'd go back to Mr. Peck and Mr. Cummings' comments that our hands are kind of tied by the legislature, that we have to be uniform.
Okay. And then there was a little bit of discussion, in we've heard it from landlords, that I didn't create the violation, my tenant did, but I'm the one that gets the ticket or whatever. There's some discussion that we might be able to do something about tenant-created violations.
Yes, the ones that are most easiest to identify are ones that have to do with vehicles illegally parking on the grass type of thing, because then when we typically would have an owner's registration and license. The more difficult ones would be on the properties themselves, and that the landlord is the legally responsible party for complying with those codes that we have already established in the city. So we can work with landlords, but I can't guarantee we're going to be able to provide an easy out for the tenant or the landlord. Somebody's going to have to be responsible, and in the long term, it's still going to be the property owner. Even if we can hold the tenant temporarily responsible, if the tenant doesn't comply, it's still going to be the property owner. But we're looking at establishing a process where it doesn't automatically just go to the landlord.
Okay. And then ultimately, who is the state? What department, or, you know, the legislature passed Act 176, but you're getting questions answered. Is that the Attorney General's office? Is that, who's answering?
No, nobody answers those questions. We're trying to figure that out ourselves.
Okay,
actually.
so we don't have a resource in Madison that you're working with to get our questions answered. We're trying to interpret the law ourselves? Is that what we're trying?
Well, we're getting information from other municipalities that have programs, and I believe the League of Wisconsin Municipal League has provided some information to the city, and that's about all I know of. There's no organization at the state level providing advice to the, not from the state government.
So the bottom line is the state passed the law and said, here you go.
Yes, we have to figure it out. Yes.
There's a lot of figuring out to it, Mr. Herman.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, it's kind of like what we've been doing with our budgets. They give us so much money, and that's it. And here's a statute that they passed, and yet there's nobody that we can go and talk to and say, if we do this, does that comply? If we do this, does that comply? And it just complicates the matter, and it confuses the landlords too, because they don't know. And so it's tough. I support the rental registry program and the inspection program because I think it's needed. And like Councilmember Peck and the mayor said, our hands are tied, and yet we don't even have a source ourselves to go to get information. And I think that's disappointing. And I know we've talked to our legislators. I've talked to Representative Hintz personally. He just lives right down the street from me, so it's pretty easy to walk down the street and talk to him. But he's frustrated too because he sees what we're dealing with and other communities are dealing with the same thing. So it's disappointing.
And I think the problem is anything we've come up with to make this program a good program, we have to go through Ms. Lawrenson or someone to find out, is this idea even feasible with the way the statute was written? I mean, it's another case of really the legislatures in Madison taking away home rule from communities who know how best to run their own communities.
I think we just need to get some better lobbyists who have checkbooks that can that have checkbooks that can compete with the other checkbooks down in Madison.
One of the things we are doing with that said, and I know several of the council members, we've had this discussion, but what we are doing with the League of Municipalities is we're working with them to have them reach out to other similar groups that have lobbied the legislature on that, because what morphed is something that everybody recognizes there are challenges with, and some of the things that we'd like to do, we can't do. When this program was initiated, we estimated we would need 1.5 people. After the state was done with it, we estimated we need 3.5 people. Clearly, there are better ways to get this done. I think the great discussions that we've had with people over the last several weeks I think everybody realizes it's more than just resolving it here at the local level. We're going to need some work done at the state level, and it's not just who has the most money, but who recognizes the most value of working together on this issue. And it's going to have to get done working together, because beating our heads against the wall, against each other, isn't going to achieve it either. And I appreciate everybody at the DS who has had conversations with me on that.
Mr. Davis, I'd just like to ask too, it sounds like, and thank you everyone who has sent emails, who has called. I've tried to call everyone back, but it sounds like there are a lot of questions relating to a checklist or what could be expected in these inspections, so that it could be more efficient, it could be more effective. It is the planning, or it is the inspections department intention to provide some kind of educational component to this before the implementation, correct?
Absolutely. And over the next month, I think we could put together a good draft of what that checklist is, because I think a lot of people are concerned about the uncertainty, and I'm trying to remove some of the uncertainty.
Thank you.
Okay, kind of in follow-up to the checklist question, I was contacted by someone, and they said, again, raising that question, and I would assume that the checklist would cover things in a unit that, should there have been some type of a change or an addition made to it, that if it was required to be permitted, what the question was, it was actually raised as a hypothetical. If someone went in and wanted to change maybe some plumbing or something in there, and they had their cousin Vinny come in and do it, who may have been a licensed plumber, but a permit wasn't pulled. Is that a concern that we've heard somebody, because I had heard someone say that, this constituent said, there's the possibility of somebody, whether doing it on their own or whatever, but because it's a rental unit, it falls under, it has to be, well, it would even a residential, it would have to be permitted.
Yes, you do have to pull permits for certain improvements to the plumbing, the electrical, the building. Typically, we're going to be looking for violations. I mean, if your cousin Vinny did a poor job of doing the plumbing, we're going to call that out and get that fixed. It's really difficult for the city to determine what's been done and what hasn't been done without a permit. Certainly, if we find there's 3 more bedrooms in the basement and there's no emergency access, that's going to be something that we're going to bring to the owner's attention. They're going to have to bring that up to code. Same, likewise, with if we find improvements in the attic. And again, those are some of the egregious examples that I could think of off the top of my head where we're going to have to bring that into compliance. But I can tell you, you can't walk through a building and find every violation based on the work that has been done over the last 50 to 100 years, because it's just impossible to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
My question is, in the time period here that staff has requested, are you still looking for input from the landlord community, the rental community, and from council? Or is this just purely for staff to work out the kinks of this ordinance?
No, we're still gathering input from anybody who would like to provide us any.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I would urge everyone to not just say no, but come forward with a solution. It's one thing to say no and stand in the corner and cross our arms and not do anything, but again, the outreach and getting to know each other and everything, let's work together to come up with something that is good, and that Oshkosh can be a shining example of. That, hey, here's where the city worked with this group and this group and this group, and we came up with something that addresses the issues of the city and the things we want to do, as well as the concerns that we hear. One thing to say no, it's another thing to come up with a solution.
Now, Mr. Davis, you've recommended deferring this until the first meeting in August.
Correct.
City Clerk, how do we go about doing this? Is that a motion, or do we just...
You'll make a motion to lay it over until August 10th.
Now, that's on the table, so that motion can be made.
No.
No, it's not on the table yet.
Oh, no,
It's
the
on the floor.
The main motion is on the table, so then is a motion to lay over to the August 10th in order? Then I would make that motion.
Second.
I've been trying to...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, okay. Three points that I would like to make. I'm glad that we are laying this over a month. I did have initial concerns about the broadness of the group as far as input prior to it coming to the public hearing 2 weeks ago. So I'm glad to see that we're going this route and doing it the correct way. One of the things that I want to make sure that the public understands is for every phone call, at least for myself, that I've received on council, that from a landlord that has not been in favor of this, I've also had a phone call from the citizen or the taxpayer being in favor of it. So please understand that as the council, we represent a broad group of individuals, and so it's kind of a double-edged sword. So the landlords, if you know, their perspective has been that, you know, we're picking on them and that we've even been called anti-business, and so on and so forth. If we were to be perceived as catering to the landlords and let this go, then the individual citizen says, see, you know, the average individual person doesn't have a say. It's all about business. Most, not all, of the individuals that I've talked to that have been for or against this, you know, are registered under S corps and LLCs, their businesses. So, you know, please keep in mind that we represent a broad group, and it's very hard for us to basically, we can't. Not only is it not appropriate to play favoritism to one group or another, but by law we can't. We can't discriminate. As Mayor Cummings and a number of other council members had said, you know, we had that ability, it's now taken away. So now, you know, we have to deal with what we have to deal with. But what I would like to say, and on a positive note, is that I have in the last couple of days talked to landlords who, while they're not 100% on board, are doing their best to provide good information, because to the best of our abilities and staff's ability to try to get the correct information out there, there's been a lot of bad information that's been passed. And I would like to say thank you to those that I talked to yesterday and today that are making an effort, although we may agree to disagree, to make sure that correct information is being passed along to other landlords that have been misinformed, whether on their own or intentionally. So, thank you.
Before we go to the vote, I just want to repeat that the goal is clean, safe housing for the citizens of Oshkosh. So with that, would the city clerk please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
And just to clarify, this is to table it.
This is the layover to
Layover.
August 10th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, layover. Aye.
Hansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried. 7.
You may want to stay there. We go to ordinance now 16-362, approved creating section 2-59.2 rental housing advisory board. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this pending ordinance?
I would just like to make a few suggestions on this. If you're going to develop a board, first of all, I'll volunteer to be on it. Second of all, I don't think any member, whether they work here in the city hall or they just passing through, that does not either live within this city or reside in this city should be on that board or be making suggestions to it. I think there are too many laws being written in this city of Oshkosh that are being made by people that don't care to live in this city. They live in Appleton, Greenville, Fond du Lac, and Green Bay. I think that's totally wrong. They don't go and pass these laws for their own neighborhood, but they're here in Oshkosh, and by God, they want to pass it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this pending ordinance? See no one coming forward, I will move it to the council for a motion and a second.
I would move for approval.
Second?
Discussion.
Mr. Davis, if I believe that members of the board, to address Mr. Pitts's comment, the members of the board that will be appointed to this advisory board, one of the requisites is that they are a resident of the city of Oshkosh.
That is correct. That's the way the city code reads today. Yes.
All boards and
I'd have to,
This falls under, as
the
any...
city attorney, yes.
As all boards and commissions do.
Yes.
So someone who may own rental property within the city limits, if they do not live within the city limits, they would not be able to.
That's my
sit on
understanding,
this
too.
board. Is that correct, Ms. Lawrence?
That's correct.
That's, again, that's with all of our boards and
Correct.
commissions, all 20,
Just so-
21 boards and commissions.
Just to answer the question.
And
Go ahead.
And I'd like to just point out, too, that on the language in our rental housing advisory board on 2-59.2, it looks like we still have the same language, and I remember speaking to this specifically, but I really hope that we will reword this such that we'll be reserving an equal spot for tenant and landlord. And I'm not so sure about the necessity of real estate agents and contractors on that board or commission, but I hope that we're going to be revisiting that piece of it too.
Yes, but by the time we come back in August with both these pieces, that both pieces would be rewritten.
Thank you.
Well, then, if I hear the gentleman correctly, what we really should be doing is laying this over.
That would be my recommendation. If I wasn't clear in my memo, that would be my recommendation, yes.
So then I would move to lay this over for consideration on August 10th.
Second.
And would direct city attorney to work with the wording as was discussed.
We can work together.
Is there any further discussion?
Wait a second.
Has to go back to public.
Let's go back to
Oh, that's right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this? I see no one coming forward. Do we need another motion in a second?
Yep.
Yeah, and we also have the motion and the second to lay over to the 10th.
Okay, I'll need a motion.
There is one, and a second.
Yep. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Please take the roll.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
No.
Stepanik?
Aye.
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 Excuse me, Peck. Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 6-1.
We now move on to new resolutions. The first is Resolution 16-363, approved plan development of Community Fitness Center, 324 Washington Avenue, downtown YMCA. Plan Commission recommends approval. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this? I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Could you please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 16-364, approve Phase 3 of 2015 Great Neighborhoods Capital Improvement Programs funding in the amount of $120,000, and approve Phase 1 of 2016 Great Neighborhoods Capital Improvement Programs funding in the amount of $104,050. Anyone from the public like to speak to this?
Hello, my name is Kathy Webb, 543 Otter Avenue, and I'm here representing River East Neighborhood Association, and we are asking for the consideration of approving the money toward the development of William Waters Plaza. We have some very dedicated neighbors in our neighborhood who have been planting flowers and maintaining and working on the plan. We understand that this street project isn't supposed to start until 2018. That's if it stays with the timeline right now, where Washington and State Street is going to be redone, which means the plaza is all going to be ripped up. And so we have a design in mind. I mean, it has been developed. We are asking for $85,000, which we are willing to partner with the City of Oshkosh, the Public Works Department, the Oshkosh Downtown Bid District, the Oshkosh Public Library, Landmark Commission, the owners of the newly renovated Washington Building, and the Rotary Club, and anyone else who is interested to raise needed funds to redevelop this beautiful little park that could be such an addition to that whole area that's being developed with the YMCA and everything that's going on downtown. And then the other plug that I'd like to ask for is funding for the 2 garbage cans to be put on the Riverwalk in Riverside Park. We've got some very dedicated neighbors who, for the past 9 months, have been helping the Parks Department clean up the neighborhood. We are actually working with the homeless people, supplying them with garbage bags so they can help pick up and work with us. There's so many things that are happening between the Leach Amphitheater and the Convention Center. There's a lot of weddings down there. And so we would just like to, by having garbage cans, we will work with the Parks Department to help empty them. And in that respect, just try to keep that area looking nice. So when they have those weddings and everything, we can be proud of our city. That is the beginning of our Riverwalk, and we're very proud of that area. And so we just ask for your consideration for these 2 things, William Waters Plaza and the trash receptacles at Riverside Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Voss. I live at 1025 Canterbury Drive, and I'm here, excuse me, on behalf of the Oshkosh Public Library, excuse me, to speak in support of the William Waters Plaza project in the River East neighborhood. We're proud to be part of the River East neighborhood, and we would support this project as yet another way to enhance our neighborhood and to make it a desirable destination for anyone who lives, works, and visits there. It is a goal in our own strategic plan to work with neighborhood associations, and we're starting and to reach out to the citizens of Oshkosh with library services throughout the community, and we're starting with our very own neighborhood, which makes a lot of sense. And our participation in this project would be a major focus for us moving forward. The library would love to be able to use this space once the project is developed to extend programming outside our building and hopefully touch the lives of more people who may not visit the library but would be in the neighborhood area. We also have pledged to the neighborhood association that we will assist them in fundraising efforts and do what we can to support that. So again, on behalf of the Oshkosh Public Library, I would just voice our support for the William Waters Plaza project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Jensen, 2420 Parkside Drive. I'm a representative for Berry Crossing Neighborhood Association. We're really hoping that you'll support this. Our neighborhood is looking to improve its park with the beautification and education project of a butterfly garden. We also have some curbs down Linwood and Sheridan that are more of an asphalt ramp that are crumbling, and we have great need for those to be repaired and to have curb added. We've worked with the City of Transportation, the busing. We've also worked with the Forestry Department as well, and the Payne for all different entities to create a partnership and seeing that we could have some of these go through and be approved. It would definitely have citizens in our neighborhood helping us and reaching out and being supportive of this as well. So definitely in favor of this and hope that you are in favor of it as well. Thank you.
Hi, Julie Kiefer, 2810 Foxtail Lane, Sawyer Creek Neighborhood Association.
Rachel Palamaki, 1280 Fairfax, Sawyer Creek Neighborhood Association. Karen Baring, 2925 Quail Court.
Brenna Garrison Bruden, 299 3rd Street, Fond du Lac, but I'm the principal at Carl Traeger Elementary, 3000 West 20th Avenue, Sawyer Creek Neighborhood Association.
We are here about a neighborhood project to create an inclusive and an accessible playground at Carl Traeger Elementary School, which serves as our neighborhood park. This is a joint project between our neighborhood association, the Oshkosh Area School District, the school PTO, and the YMCA on 20th. We have raised approximately $50,000 to provide the match for the grant requests that we have made. Those funds are from parents, the school district, the PTO, and other community organizations as well. This project is ready to go, and with your approval, we'll be placing an order tomorrow. And we want to thank Ray and Liz and Alexa, who were very helpful in helping us get to this point.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak to this? We'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Could we have Alan come back?
Mr. Davis? While he's coming up, I just want to thank all the people from the neighborhood associations, they're making such a tremendous positive impact to our community. It's just wonderful to see the things that have happened in really just a few short years. So,
Yes.
Thank you, all of you. Mr. Davis.
Sorry, I didn't realize Liz is still here. She could probably answer this, but I'm just
Someone
going to
with the
ask
right-
both of you,
Yep.
okay? The William Waters Plaza, I mean, by the way, thank you, all the neighborhood groups, for working so diligently on these projects. This is incredible. I just had a couple of clarifying questions. On William Waters Plaza, who owns that? Is that a park? Does the city own it? Whose property is that?
The city right-of-way is technically who owns it, so it's like within the right-of-way of a street. It just happens to be some area that we haven't paved and had an opportunity to put a nice little plaza in instead of a street.
Sure, sure. And then just a second quick question. They collaborated with surrounding property owners. Could you name some of those property owners that were involved in that?
There were multiple stakeholders that worked. Actually, the planning and design was a past Great Neighborhoods funding approval in the past. So it was the Landmarks Commission, so Historic Preservation, took a look at it because it is a proposed historic district that has been, the Landmarks has been working on. The Downtown Business Improvement District, we worked with their beautification committee members on that. And then we also invited business owners to some stakeholder meetings. We worked with the developer to the north that is working on the Washington building. We worked with the public library and their staff on the design. We also worked with the neighborhood association residents and held a visioning session with them. I believe that is the vast majority of who we worked with.
And then just the last piece of this is, do you guys have some kind of maintenance agreement with the neighborhood association or the developer to the north or someone for the maintenance of that, or does it still fall within?
It actually, the maintenance of that facility falls under the Parks Department. So they take care of, the neighborhood has done a great job planting. They come over,
Right.
they weed, but the Parks Department waters the flowers that are currently within the plaza, and the Parks Department would continue maintenance long-term of that area.
Thank you so much. It's a gorgeous project.
I did want to also mention that about $100,000 of this funding is being leveraged by the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, so we wanted to thank them as well to help support the city's investment of $100,000 to support this program. And many of the groups have also fundraised dollars as well to leverage the cities. So it's almost about 100% match in terms of the leveraging for this program. So.
I wholeheartedly approve this, and I mean, just the people saying they want to getting involved, coming forward with not just the problem, but helping us find solutions and bettering the city. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for all the work you've done. As well as Liz and...
One question,
Herman.
And Alexa back there.
And
too, don't
Alexa,
forget.
all right.
Raise your hand, Alexa.
One question, maybe, Mr. Davis. Where does that money come from? I mean, I know it's from our TIFs, I believe, that we close and we designate certain dollars.
Actually, this funding is from the city's capital improvement program, and we allocate somewhere around $250,000 every year for projects of this nature.
Okay. I just want for all the citizens to know where, kind of where that money comes from, because
Yeah.
it is a great project, and it just shows, again, partnershiping with the city, the neighborhoods, the community foundation improves the quality of life in Oshkosh, and all these projects are just going to make the community that much better.
Here, here.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments from council, I would ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Berman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Next is Resolution 16-365, approve updated tax increment financing in parens TIF, TIF, close parens policy and application guidelines. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this issue? I'm not sure if anyone's coming forward or just leaving.
You're just leaving.
Yeah, playground equipment to order.
I see no one coming forward. I will bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I would just like to point one thing out that was in the memo. There was no, as this was not something that the Long Range Finance Committee had to take formal action upon, it was, though, the committee's unanimous consent that of approval of this particular rewrite of the policy. So just to correct that, because several council members contacted me with that question, or the question was relayed to me.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually would like to make a motion to lay over Resolution 16-365 until after our strategic planning session that we have on Thursday. It's a significant change to the policy that I'm not aware that there has been any council directive to make the policy change, and given that in 2 days we have a significant amount of money invested in doing an all-day strategic planning session, I would like to see this lay over to the next meeting until we get through that process on Thursday.
And I would second that.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for this pending ordinance?
I have a question before we go to that vote. Can I ask that?
Yes, it's
No.
back here for discussion.
It's a different discussion.
Is it related to the
skeleton?
layover or to the,
No, it was to the original. I never got a chance before she made her motion.
with consent of the council?
Yeah.
Mr. Davis, what are the changes? Why are you asking for the changes to the policy so quick? It happened like overnight. And all of a sudden now, council's got to make this big decision, and it doesn't even follow our strategic plan.
Well, the beach building TIF is what actually precipitated the whole discussion. If you recall, back in June when we were deliberating on the beach building TIF district, the information they submitted to us did not meet the criteria that we had for the TIF policy. We debated whether we needed to just create, we do have provisions in the existing policy to give them, say, a variance for something like that, which the council still could do, but we saw this particular project as just the first project of many that could, with redevelopment projects, require the same type of variance, and do you really want to go through a variance process rather than just change the policy for redevelopment projects? Because, like I said, we're hoping the beach building is one of many redevelopment projects. So when it came down to it, during the beach building deliberation, that's when we first alerted council to that there's an issue regarding this particular PAYGO requirement and how much investment we're willing to put in. The beach building has not been resolved yet, and we could issue, when it comes back to council, it could be a variance, but I think staff would recommend that we'd consider changing the policy so we wouldn't have to do a variance for every redevelopment project that we'd have come before the council. That was really precipitated that, and that really came up there in the middle of June and for the beach building deliberation, and then once that was approved, we started working on the development agreement, and on the joint review board, they approved it, but we put the caveat in there, I think it was in a newsletter, saying we're probably going to have to come back to council with a change. We continued with negotiations and deliberations and talking to other communities and Ellers as our financial consultant as to what we could do about these types of issues. So that's why we came through with the recommendations we did. We went to long-range finance, try to be more transparent about what we were planning on doing before it even got to council, so we could further vet that. So the plan is still to bring it forward so that we could actually finish the beach building TIF development agreement. It's going to be finished one way or the other, either with, I think, with a variance or with the change of policy.
Mayor, if I could ask one more question. Mr. Taves is here from Ellers. Can you add anything that how this protects us, puts us out there? Does it, he knows our background, so if he can, I don't know if you can help us in any way.
Sure,
I'd like to delay it, but I don't want to delay it if we don't have to. So.
Yeah, and I'm appearing tonight for the second item, so I wasn't completely prepared for this one, but that's fine. So, what I would say in terms of the primary change where the allowable increment would be up to 90%, certainly on the face of it, that seems like a high percentage. And there always needs to be some reservation of increment in order to make the city whole for other costs it may incur. Minimally, it's administration, but also if there's other public works projects, things of that nature. But from a broader perspective, what we think is the most important is it's not necessarily the percentage of increment per se, but it's really going through the process of analyzing the developer's pro forma. And that is something the city does as a matter of course in its evaluation of projects that request assistance from the city. So by looking at that, what you're really trying to do is answer the question, how much public participation is necessary in order to make this project economically feasible? In other words, to provide a fair rate of return to the developer for investing their funds on that project. So in some cases, what's needed to fill that gap could be 30%. In other cases, it certainly could be as high as 90%. So a project like that means you've got a very large gap to start with. Therefore, you need a higher percentage of the increment. So we really see it as a project-to-project evaluation. I think if you were to increase the policy to the 90%, what it's going to do is give you additional flexibility to incent projects that maybe have a lot of hurdles to overcome, but would still be good projects for the city. But ultimately, you've got to make that decision on what that appropriate level of assistance is based on the specifics of the project. So in and of itself, increasing that percentage doesn't necessarily give us pause as long as the practice continues of evaluating the pro forma and the rate of return on a project. And that would be our point of view on that. The policy should be a guideline, but at the same time, you don't want your policy to constrain you so that you, as Alan had said, have to get a variance on every project or potentially not be able to provide assistance for a project you would otherwise deem to be worthwhile.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Certainly.
Change anything? Go ahead and move.
For me personally, no. I think actually the information that we just got only indicated further that this is a more complex project than I think just because I was out of town. I was not at long range finance, but typically even with long range finance, and I do appreciate the effort for transparency, but typically, if there's staff that wants to approach us or outside organizations, typically it's on the future agenda items. So it just seems really quick, and I'm not comfortable with a significant change in policy like this until I think there's a little bit more time to talk about it. We've had a lot of substantial issues on our table both 2 weeks ago as well as tonight, and I don't want to be I don't want to quickly just pass it because it showed up on the agenda.
I guess my question would be if there are any concerns. When we put this in the newsletter a month ago, I received no comments. Now, that's certainly the council's prerogative, but if there's any concerns that you have with the policy, if you could let us know, because we can certainly address whatever concerns you may have.
First of all, the motion to lay over is what's on.
Right.
Right.
I had that asked for
But in the course of laying it over, if we come back and we don't answer any questions in 2 weeks, then the same issues can come up.
Yeah, Ms. Palmieri?
Yeah, I had concerns about the policy criteria and kind of the watering down, if you will, some of those points. And the gentleman from Ellers, right, addressed one component, but there are several others. So I would support Councilwoman Osby's motion to lay this over, not just beyond strategic planning, but to give us a little bit more time to flesh this out more.
Are there any other comments, discussion from council? Would you please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
No.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
No.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 5-2.
We're now at Resolution 16-3666. Approve Tax Increment District Number 29 Project Plan. Designate Tax Increment District Number 28 boundaries. Create Tax Increment District Number 29 Morgan District Redevelopment. Plan Commission recommends approval. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this?
Peter Lang, 2300 White Swan Drive. Grant Schwab, 4006 Stonegate Drive, Oshkosh.
Nicholas Lang, 1950 White Swan Drive.
We're here simply to answer any questions the councilors may have in regards to the package before the council.
Just either one you can answer. What's your anticipated with the TIF being approved on a start date of something that we could see happening? I mean,
So the reason we're here is we'd like to move forward with finalizing plans, working through the next stages of development, and really starting to get a solid plan set in front of the ground. Obviously, we have some city hurdles to go through in terms of making sure we have that through the final plan development and negotiate a developers agreement. But we would like to start soon. We'd like to start, I think, yet this fall or early next spring.
Probably early next spring, I would think, but we need to know the TIFs in place before we take the next steps.
Okay.
That's kind of the logical transition.
that's a question we get asked from citizens every once in a while. You know, you approve a policy and then, or, you know, like a TIF, and then they don't see anything and they go, what's going on? So just kind of whatever FYI you can give us, or, you know.
I think to add to it, we started this project in February of 2015. Spent a year of due diligence before we purchased the project. If you all remember what was there, we took down 250,000 square feet of the building,
Right.
reclaimed a lot of wood, 40,000 tons of concrete. So we've taken our time, worked with city staff. We get questioned about it a lot as well.
Sure.
So,
No, and I.
We're looking forward to working on it.
Right, and I know it's a 5-year, 6-year project, and a lot's going to depend on the market-driven and things like that, and I totally understand that, and it is a awesome-looking project as it continues to move forward and develop. So I think our citizens will be pleased. Hopefully, everything will fall in place. Hopefully, the economic situation will stay good and everything, and you know, we're working on the Riverwalk in that area, so that will continue to improve that property. So I think it's a good step forward.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Grant and I had a very good conversation today. I appreciate your time. I am excited about the project. I'm excited about it because I liked the mixed use. I did have a number of concerns that I did share with Grant, but I feel that, to your point, there's been a lot of due diligence, a lot of investigation, and an investment already made in what is appropriate use. I'm excited about the conversation I had with Grant as far as the retail, the grocer, a number of things like that. So I think that's good. I shared with Grant that I wasn't in love with more apartments. I was hoping to have more home ownership, more condominiums. We've talked about utilizing or hopefully having more space in the central city for, housing stock. But you pick and choose your battles, and I'm confident in the project, so I will certainly support it.
I think to that point, the site's 27 acres. So this is the first phase of the site, and it may change. Maybe some of the lower density apartments that we had, maybe those are condos. It's really, we do get a lot of questions about condos. I think when we first started this, there were we thought, boy, we're going to have a lot of millennials, and we're getting a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s that really want to move down here. They see the Riverwalk going in, the restaurants, the Leach Amphitheater, the farmers market, so it's been a really positive experience for us so far.
Well, I'm supportive of the project, and I appreciate the efforts you've made, and I think part of the reason that this is a good place to locate is the investments that the city has made along our riverfront. And again, I think that the city has pretty much hung the sign out that we're open for business.
We talk about, maybe talking a little too much here, but we talk about the amount of coastline we have in the city of Oshkosh and the Riverwalk system, and once it's all tied together, there's not going to be anything like it. Our river's accessible. The Riverwalk is maybe one of the longer ones in the state. It's really pretty unbelievable what we've done.
Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. We had a conversation as well, and I just would ask you to kind of explain what your thoughts are in terms of how many permanent, full-time, fair wage jobs might be produced as a result of this, and or any environmentally sustainable aspects to the project there are?
I think maybe the best part is our grocery store partners are here. So that's the first phase that's going to have the most impact on jobs. So maybe if Christy can come up and speak to it, she could answer that a lot better. And the operation they run is phenomenal and very interesting. So,
good evening, Christy Mauer. I currently live in Madison, and Jeff and I own Fresh Madison Market, Fresh City Market. For full-time, I would approximate about 15 full-time employees, and an additional probably 150 part-time employees. All things depending based on volume and sales projections, but our current stores approximately employ about 160 currently. That's a combination of both full-time and part-time.
And what are those salaries, if I may ask? What kind of range are those full-time salaries?
They're competitive within the market, so they're going to be anywhere from, some are salaried, some are hourly, even though they're full-time positions, and they're going to range anywhere from $15 an hour to on upward.
And when you say they're competitive, what kind of range are we talking about for a specific salary, let's say, for a manager or full-time employee at the grocery store?
Sure. Well, for example, a meat manager to be competitive within not only this market but also within that industry, for example, currently my meat manager is going to make $20 an hour. Now, obviously, taking into those considerations here in this market, and maybe that needs to be higher or lower depending on what this market is for meat managers, but that's pretty typical for the industry.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah.
I too will support this. Obviously, it's amazing what's happened to the Fox River in the last 5 to 6 years. I mean, and for those of us who grew up in this city and remember the Fox as being totally industrial, and our family owned the mortgage company that once stood there. It's just amazing. And I've had family members come back after being gone for 40-some years, and they just can't believe what they're seeing on the Fox River. It's been a tremendous transformation in a short amount of time. So it's just very exciting to see what's happening in the city of Oshkosh. So, thank you. With that, I believe it comes back to the council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the city clerk please take the roll?
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Hansky?
Aye.
Stefanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
We're now at council discussion, direction to city manager, and future agenda items. The first is future agenda items. And the first is presentation by East Central Go EDC on Initiative 41 on August 23rd.
Nothing to add.
Next, we have a request.
Request for recap of Sawdust Days.
Thank you. Mr. Peck.
I had the problem with Capital Catalyst Fund. That was one that I tripped up at long range. Obviously, Sawdust Days just ended. There were some issues that came to council's attention as well as the city's attention related to some of the exhibits that were there, as well as some issues related to police calls and that. So I would imagine that we are in the process of putting together our post-game report, so to speak, and that will be provided to council at some point in the future, correct?
Yes, the police department does a post-incident report, and our special event coordinating committee, Kathy Snell, will be working with staff to identify any and all issues so that we can report that to council as well as share that with the event organizers.
Okay. Yeah, and then just one thing that I did want to kind of point out, it kind of did bother me a little bit, and I don't know if it bothered any other council members, but I did look at Sawdust Days website, and the fireworks that the city of Oshkosh pays for 50% of the city didn't even get any recognition for our contribution to the fireworks. I appreciate Festival Food's contribution, but the citizens of Oshkosh made a contribution as well, and it would have been very nice had the organizers recognized that.
I would agree. The future workshops, strategic planning workshop, July 14, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Convention Center. We are all have that on our calendars, I would assume. Our budget workshop, the first is July 20th from 5 to 7. We have a Sustainability Board workshop on ICLEI milestones, July 26th at 5 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, and I did relay this to you previously, and I did mention to Mr. Roloff, I may not be here on the 26th of July. My wife and I may be someplace else celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary on that evening. So I will let you know the update on that as that becomes available.
Thank you. And another one of Mr. Roloff's objectives was the reviewing of a potential municipal court in the city of Oshkosh. That is scheduled for August 23rd at 5 p.m. And with that, we'll move to the second chance for citizens to make statements to the council. They are to address the council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes. Must address items that are not listed on the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact in the city of Oshkosh, and the common council may address at a future meeting and must not include endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering. Yes, sir.
Good evening, people. My name is Lee Williams, 331 Broad Street. I am a little annoyed right now because every Saturday, especially the last 6 weeks, I go to the library between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. You can't find a parking stall in that library parking lot because the
Farmers Market.
Farmers Market, thank you. Seems to think that the city library parking lot is the first and only place to park. And I've ended up parking over in Human Services parking lot just to go to the library. I was talking to Mr. Roloff because I did drop him a message here. I don't remember what day it was last week, about it, and he told me, I was under the impression that there was only a 30-minute parking limit in there, and he told me, no, he thinks it's like 60 or 90 minutes, I think it is. And I'm not sure either, because I don't recall the signs. But I was just wondering if there's something that can be done about that.
I can relate to that, if you want me to.
Absolutely.
When I was on the Parking Utility Board, the parking utility got a request from the farmer's market to waive enforcement Saturday morning for the farmer's market. And the Parking Utility Board approved that. So they are not ticketing vehicles that are exceeding the parking limits in those parking lots. They are ticketing vehicles that would be parked in reserve stalls, tenant stalls, and things like that, but the public part of the parking lots for the farmer's market in public-owned facilities within that area.
The thing I'm questioning is, I went down there, like I said, not this past weekend, because I knew I wasn't going to find a parking stall down there, but Saturday before that, there was no stalls. Every stall in that parking lot was full.
Right. So some are probably tenants that pay for those parking stalls that live in the apartments or in that area. Some could be people at the library, and then the others are farmers market. But the agreement is not to waive.
Are they allowed to use the Human Services parking lot?
That would be up to the county's decision to contact.
I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't answer that for you. But I do know from when I was on the parking board, they waived that, and there was an agreement with the bid district and the farmers market to waive that.
Like I said, I find it very annoying. You go down there with somebody that wants to go to the library, maybe read a paper, play on a computer for a little bit.
I understand. Yep, it's hard. You're welcome.
One of the things, given what was commented on, I appreciate Councilor Herman mentioning that. I will talk to Ms. Leatherman. If there's any possibility that vendors are parking there, we'll certainly ask them to make sure that they don't park there. I don't think that was the intent of the parking boards. Their intent was for somebody who may go to the farmer's market and then go shopping, go to breakfast, that they didn't get penalized for spending more than 2 hours downtown.
Correct.
Mr. Roloff, I did notice on Saturday that there was a large produce semi parked in front of the library, which takes up every single one of those parking spots on the side as well. So,
I will. Do you think that was related to farmers market, or was it related to?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
There are no council members yet.
I do have a citizen's statement to make. Everybody's probably shut the meeting off, but I'd like to kind of explain the casual look this evening. After we complete our agenda this evening, I just wanted to remind people that tonight is the first night of the Live at the Leach series, which is a city-sponsored event. The Parks Department puts it together. It is free music at the Leach Amphitheater. So after our closed session, I do know some council members, we will be heading down to there to listen to some music as well as reach out to our constituents. But just a reminder to the public that every Tuesday night for the next 6 or 7 weeks, I believe it is, there's live music at the Leach, and it's a great city event, so come on down and support it.
Any other comments from the council members? If not, it's time for Mr. Roloff to make his announcements and statements.
The first item, number 26, is really more an announcement / reminder. Our primary election is going to be a month or 4 weeks from today, August 9th. And by code, council, normally when you move a meeting, you have to do it by ordinance. For election days, they are automatically moved to the day after. So mark your calendar for Wednesday, August 10th for our council meeting in August, not August 9th. If you come, you might end up getting sworn into duty by the clerk and help count votes and move stuff. So be forewarned. Similarly, November 9th, the elections are November 8th, so November 9th will be the council meeting for the first meeting in November. So just giving you, if you want to get your calendars out and make note of those things, so you can be prepared, because if you show up Tuesday, you'll be working for Pam.
and with that being said, though, I'm sure we could still use a few more poll workers, so if anybody is interested for either one of these, please apply.
Unintended commercial message,
Hey.
but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Secondly, our first and second quarter update on the strategic plan. With us getting ready to do the strategic plan, I wanted to make sure that staff had this, number one, as up to date as possible, and maybe just a tad bit more critical, because as we're going into strategic planning, we want to know that we have a good assessment of where we are. So Courtney Jenks in our Human Resources Division, Courtney put together a very detailed report and didn't take yes or no for an answer. She kept going until they were completely looked at this, and that was really the key. We want to make sure the departments did a thorough look. So Courtney, it looks like you're ready to roll on something, so I'm just going to turn it over to you. It sounds like maybe Jake's got something on the screen for you?
Yep.
All right.
No. Well, in front of you, you should have, or you've received the strategic update document. The first 3 pages are the plan, and
Didn't come through our computers. We don't have it.
You didn't get it?
Nope, we don't have it.
It was in our packet. Spreadsheets?
No, I don't get a packet anymore.
Yeah, me
like
neither.
that.
You didn't get,
Nope,
you got the electronic version?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have the electronic? Okay.
it's not.
Well, I will make sure that you get a hard copy delivered to you as soon as possible. I apologize. So, Steve, Lori, you didn't get it?
I have it.
You have it, okay. So Steve, Caroline, and Ben, oh, all right, thank you. Because you go electronic, we should not be
Yep,
punishing you for that, and I apologize for that. Courtney, are you looking for this to put up on the screen? Is that
We
it?
were going to, yes.
Okay, oh, is Jake trying to do it or not?
Yeah.
Well, what I did, in addition to the normal report, I also asked departments to do what's known as an exception report, and this identifies some of the areas that are in there that we haven't completely done. A couple of examples, anything that is with either below plan or on caution because it isn't ready to be done, or it's a little behind, we have those identified. For example, Buckstaff Building. We all know that's a little behind, although we're happy to report that it's good. You don't see a lot of activity because it's an asbestos removal project, so you're not supposed to see a lot of activity because otherwise there would be a problem. But they are going through the process of removing asbestos. So we have the schedule for that. We have several others under infrastructure, identifying some of our projects. We're way behind on bus replacement. We had a lot of buses that are 10 years plus old that were purchased in 2003. We're going through that process. A lot of it's based on grants. 2 projects are behind, one from funding, the Libby Nicolay project. The bids came in really high. If you recall, we decided to pursue with the Furnow project because that's the one. Furnow, is that right, James?
Yes, that is correct.
So that's the one that has to do with Bemis, healthcare packaging, and then Washburn, it's just been a function of time, and we're working with the project. In fact, I got an update today from Mr. Godey that we're working on that one. The Washburn water quality is at the corner of 21 and Washburn over by the Shell station. It's adding making a larger pond there. And then Stringham Creek watershed land, that's, we're still refining the modeling with Stringham Creek, so we're a little bit behind on that one. Quality of life assets, 2 of the ones that are in there, it talks about the master plans for Menominee and Rainbow Park. We just put those on caution, not because the plans aren't done, because the plans are done, but it's the implementation, and a lot of that's based on funding, so we wanted to point that out, especially as we're heading into strategic planning. How are we doing? We do have the plans in place. We have a little work to do on getting the funding identified and the projects underway. And then high-performing government, the general obligation debt of getting it to 70% of equalized value. Our equalized values keep going down, even though council has held very firm on limiting how much we borrow. That equalized value isn't going up, and it's edging down even slightly. Still impacts our borrowing issue. Employee recognition is an ongoing program. We've started the committee in May, but we're behind on that. And then finally, performance metrics. Ms. Jenks has gotten the ICMA software purchased that's going to allow us to benchmark. A lot of this is going to be discussed Thursday in terms of where we are and how far we want to go with that. So I gave a verbal on it, and given the fact that 3 of the council members don't have a hard copy, I think we can get you a hard copy. I apologize for that. We got to make sure we don't miss you when you go electronic on us. Any questions?
If there are no questions, Deputy Mayor Allison Osby would like to make a motion.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to go into closed session. The Common Council may convene into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes to discuss the performance evaluation and compensation regarding the city manager and employee over which the Common Council has jurisdiction and exercises responsibility.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
You need a roll.
We take a roll.
Ready?
Sure.
Ready.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Stepanik?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Colmary?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Carried 7.
And now I'd like a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.